think we're gonna be okay. The power went out, but the power is back on. We have the power. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear the voices of me speaking? All right, here we go. Did my screen come back, y'all? I'm just gonna rush ahead and get hey everybody. Sorry. So I'm setting up and the power went out right there. It was like I was ready to even hit the button and I was like, oh, that's par for the course. So I had to go out to the garage and flip a breaker and then run back in. It happens occasionally. It's good. It's good. Happens in these brand new houses. Yeah, nothing like a house that's, whatever, 3 years old. Am I in Texas? Quit it. So, yeah, I think it was video games again. Cam's in the other room, so I think that's what it was. Whew. So, oh, sorry, I had a jacket on, and I was fine, but it's hot in here. I'm leaving it. If it gets too much, I'll throw something on. Oh, we're wearing the same top. We both shopped at Target circa 2009. And hello. There we go. All right, now let's see. I've got to reopen the videos I had because I got that part shut down. Grumble. All right, where is it? We had this guy, and we had this guy, and then I had which video? Let's see. This video, and then I'm never gonna get through all these. There's too much. We have to have our obligatory Marianne Williamson. And then, what else? Oh, God, I just need this to show you something. Okay, there we go. Now, that's way too much. Like, I'm just going to have to stream 24/7 these days. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm all right. What is it? Like the ghost? Oh, that's because that light is out. Of course, because, it's a thing. There you go. And it'll blink off, and then it'll come back on, and then we're okay. I'll see with it. Adjusting the brightness of the brightness, and then bring the ring light brightness up. Something like that. And then the key left is this, right? It's too much? Okay, whatever. Anyways, whew, hi, how are you doing? How are you doing? No, it isn't about me. I'm fine. I was just crawling around under my workbench in the garage and moving things out of the way to get to the breaker. I'm fine. So, it's a tank top. Is it too much? Is this unprofessional? Is that what it is? All right. It does. We're okay. All right. Now, I don't care. Look, if hippie Alex Jones can wear like Gandhi's used underwear, as part of his regular outfit, I can wear a tank top from Target every so often. Now, and I think it's only appropriate that I wear a Target tank top just because Glenn Beck is boycotting them right now. So I figured, what better time? Anyways, so a couple things. We've talked a couple of times about how Ben Shapiro somehow they had a meeting at the Daily Wire. And somebody brought up the idea of, you know what works really well on YouTube? Thumbnails where you look like a dipshit. Making a big face. And CSL's just going to mess with me, isn't he? He's going to take a big dumb face of mine and use it, isn't he? I shouldn't give him all this ammo. But anyway, so all of his videos for the last, this kind of shit, have had this kind of faces, like, can you believe it? And it's pretty hilarious. So you guys know this turned a corner at some point, right? He was like this kind of, and then he was like, oh shit, I'm getting swamped by the dumb faces that Schenker Anna make, so I've got to compete. So he started doing these, and apparently, Rusty Trombone got the same fucking memo. Like at a certain point, if everything you see astounds you and horrifies you, I think what do? You just like run out of dumb faces to make. So at this point, he just looks like he's about to be hit by a bus. And are we supposed to? What are we supposed to take from this? What is it? Are we supposed to take that Russell is going, oh my God, Trump is jacking off a grown man into his hair? And that's his natural reaction. It seems like it would be if you came across that image. If somebody just held up their phone and went, "Hey," and you went, "Ah," oh, you'd pull a dumb face like that. And so like I don't know why this is a thing right now, but the two of them are obviously trying to out dipshit each other with their thumbnails. Also, do you see a theme in who gets time and who gets respect on Ben Shapiro's show and Russell's? You see any? I can't think of a comparison in terms of what political party is favored in the expression. Now, here's the big difference. Trump's indictment is in the middle of this picture of him and Pence. And Russell's just like, he's going old school. It's just it's one of those class picture ordering things where you just get, 2 4x4s and a sheet of 2x8s or whatever. Whatever the pictures are. And now most of us saw Trump's arrest, what we were allowed to see, and knew the details of it. It's it's apparently been part of the conversation for a little bit here. Sorry, I'm just not making enough faces for this. And
here I am like an idiot.
So we've got Rusty Trombone here, who, if you're not familiar, Rusty here used to be a comedian, allegedly. I've never seen it in play, but I understand that as a sexually attractive addict, he got a lot of ass in London, and that automatically pushes you to the front of the line as far as comedians in England. That's the standard. That's what pegs the needle on quality in the London stand-up scene. So I sure hope those fuckers can take a joke. I'm not sure they can. Anyways, so look at the title of this. And again, Russell has been benefiting from the fact that Tucker's not on the air because he scooped up some of his audience here. But he's still, petered out at the same number. He hasn't really expanded his base. And it's large numbers, so it's hard to do once you get, he's about saturated. But Trump's arrest exposed the real story they're not telling you. So I didn't know, and you probably didn't know, that Russell was in the courtroom under, obviously Trump's bench, wherever, under the seat that Trump was in, laying on the floor. They had hooked up one of those gas masks like Dennis Hopper wore in Blue Velvet, and a hose going up to a hole in Trump's seat. And so we're going to get some inside info right now on what Russell knew and when he knew it. So
they don't like the gas.
At some point, we'll learn something. We're not going to do the whole thing. It's long because I don't know what this dickhead is rambling about. And if you can't get to it right away, I don't know what.
Donald Trump is.
Oh God, what in the hell? All right, look, I was catching shit for wearing a tank top. Get off my back, you guys. I had a jacket on and it was just hot. And that's that. I don't know what the fuck this is. It's like Paramahansa Blathernanda. What is this? What the ever-loving shit? I'm just a messiah in waiting. I'm wearing this outfit because it gives the illusion of spiritualism.
Charged with the Espionage Act. Could that act be named the Get Rid of People We Don't Like Act, particularly if they don't want ongoing wars?
No, because Trump didn't end the Afghanistan war while he was in office. And if you listen to him talk, he intended on us to stay forever. Look up the Bagram Air Base shit, dum-dum. I really don't. I don't get it. Trump and the Espionage Act. Should we call it that we only use this on people we don't like? Now, the reason we don't like them is because they endanger the lives of everyone on the fucking planet. But
hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage through truth and freedom. Turn on the notifications. You will get being charged with the Espionage Act. Threatens establishment interest. Now, you know we have...
How does he threaten establishment interest? He was president for 4 fucking years. He's a real estate mogul who owns golf courses. What kind of Che Guevara fucking red wash are you trying here? Are they trying to get rid of the common man in the form of a pussy-grabbing second-generation rich kid who owns more golf courses than are profitable and tries to commodify every fucking thing within 18 feet of him?
Complex perspectives on the phenomenon of Donald Trump. I know a lot of you like him. We have complex perspectives on the phenomenon of Donald Trump. I know a lot of you...
Look at that. I know a lot of you like him. He went, I know a lot of you don't like him, but I also know a lot of you do like him. And, a lot of you like him. And so they cut the part out where don't like him, because that's not true of anyone in Russell's audience. Russell's audience is Trump's audience. Those that are actually real anyways. I mean, look, bots of a feather. What am I going to tell you?
You like him. I know a lot of you don't like him. But what's very interesting is the possibility of the fact that the establishment is trying to bring him...
The establishment? Oh, you mean like the rich people that own a lot more property than they could ever fucking live in? That kind of establishment. The upper class New York real estate people who used to hang out with Jeffrey fucking Epstein.
Down using an act that they used successfully to put Assange in jail, to exile...
No. Assange isn't in our jail. He's not in American jail. He hasn't been extradited to the United States. He hid in the Ecuadorian embassy. The Ecuadorian embassy does not qualify as an American prison. We have a legal system here. He has to be tried and found guilty in a court of law to be put in jail. And by the way, if somehow this asshole is going to tie that the monarchy in the UK is somehow behind the use of the Espionage Act in the United States, because this former colony, if it truly is one, is trying to uphold our national security laws.
Well, Edward Snowden. Is it possible that the Espionage Act...
I'm sorry, wait, what?
Assange in jail to exile... Edward Snowden.
Yeah, hi, stupid. I know you're... look at this. We got reading eyes. He's looking at his notes. He wrote down jail, Assange, exile, Edward... Okay, Glenn Greenwald did more to exile Edward Snowden than anybody here did. Reality Winner is out of fucking jail. So is Chelsea Manning. They did their time. They respectfully saw what they did as duty to the country. And so these other two fuckers who keep trying to run away for some reason under this idea that they're going to be put on, in Guantanamo and hit with a fucking rubber hose is bullshit, because that's the mythology that they make money on.
Is it possible that the Espionage Act has become a catch-all piece of legislation to...
No. You know why? Because we're only trying to catch people who've taken top secret documents and hit them in the shitter of a fucking country club. If it was a catch-all, there's tons of people I'm sure the government would love to scoop the fuck up and charge with the Espionage Act.
Shut down voices that threaten powerful interests and...
What? I'm sorry. A dude who owns 16 golf courses isn't quote-unquote a powerful interest?
Again, I say this from the perspective of someone who is not a MAGA hat-wearing Trump...
Bullshit. Citation needed.
But respect...
Bullshit.
For those of you that...
No. He is. Like, if you have to say... I think Migandi does protest too much.
Hate the establishment from any perspective. Much of the content we...
I what?
Respect for those of you that hate the establishment from any perspective.
Yes, the whole thing is the structure of functioning society and democracy. That's the thing I hate. You know, the thing that's made me rich and lets me live in a gated area of London in $1 million house and have a studio that, you know, is worth millions of dollars, but has sort of a rustic Tucker Carlson, I like wood kind of a feel to it. I hate that. I hate it. I'm not leaving anytime soon. Not until I've got Jack Dorsey money. I'm not moving to fucking Philippines. I'm just going to dress like I have.
Much of the content we're creating for you today comes from the website of the World Socialist Organization.
Yes, an ironically named site.
So this, whatever it may be, is not a right-wing take. And
yes, it is. First of all, have you never heard of horseshoe theory? Second of all, just because you name something that I've got news for you. The Freedom Caucus is against women's right to choose. See how that works?
Yet it is saying that the establishment are trying to bring down Trump, not because they believe he's a criminal, but because they believe he's a threat.
That's because well, we'll see which, I don't even know the site he's going to do. But in general, when you've got the super far lefties who are backing Trump under the illusion that, you know, he's somehow being wronged by the same people that wrong us, it's just, they're just trying to tear down a system they've been unsuccessful at tearing down while they thrive within it.
Good evening once again.
Oh, yes, the socialist website that is MSNBC.
I'm Stephanie Rule.
Hi, Stephanie Rule. We like Stephanie, by the way. Adorable.
Was a day unlike
very smart lady.
Any
don't
other
agree on everything. Why would I?
In American history. Donald Trump, a former commander-in-chief, appeared in a court as a defendant in a case brought by the government he once ran.
You can see that the mainstream media have almost been briefed to say this is a historic event.
They don't have to be briefed, you dumb fuck. It is. It's what are they supposed to say? It's not. This is going to be it's the new norm, ladies and gentlemen. What? Of course. It's almost like the news has been briefed to bring up relevant details that are different than something that's happened before, therefore making it news. What a tit.
This is unprecedented. They are amplifying the significance of these events.
No, they aren't. They're not amplifying the significance. They are pointing out the significance, the novelty of this very thing. You twit.
I'm not arguing that they are not significant, but if you...
Oh, God. I'm not saying they're lying or saying something untrue. I'm just saying that they're saying it. And it is something they would normally say, but I don't know why they shouldn't say it, but I don't like it.
Compare them to the evident war crimes, alleged war crimes of George Bush, the...
Hold on. Hold on, fuckhead. You're about to do a what about. And that whataboutism is based on a massive falsehood. And that massive falsehood is that somehow, unlike his predecessors, Donald Trump never did drone strikes or gave arms to evil regimes or any of the stuff that you're going to lambaste Bush and Obama and Clinton for, allegedly because all wars are bad and America bad all the time. And like if we stop the Kosovo slaughter, that's the same as us invading Iraq, and it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, and blah blah blah. But while Trump was in, their problem is he just was going to show war plans. He didn't carry any out. Yes, he fucking did. Civilian deaths because of American military action went up 80% in the first year Trump was president. He ended up with 80% more dead in that year than the entire 8 years Obama was president.
Proprieties of Bill Clinton, the handling of the financial crisis by Barack Obama.
The handling of, you mean the rescuing of the actual fucking economy and the fact that Tesla wouldn't exist? Tell me again, Russell. Tell me about how cool Elon Musk is, and I'll tell you how he's been living off the government tit since the handling of the economic crisis by Barack Obama.
I would say that this is a comparable event. And just to show you that I'm not a pro-Trump person, I think it's worse that Trump gave tax breaks to the richest...
I think it's worse than drone strikes.
Americans that negatively impacted ordinary Americans.
Ordinary Americans like you, people I see sometimes, that some of them are in my audiences. I don't like them. I eat as far away from them as I possibly can. I tell them it's an organic thing.
Like you. And I think that if he's going to be prosecuted for anything, it should be that. So let's look at this.
Yes, prosecute him for getting a tax break signed while he was in office as a Republican president. Getting, spies murdered. Giving, aid and comfort to the fucking Russians who are, and by the way, let me just boil this down to the simplest form. This dickhead is rooting for more buchas in Ukraine, while saying the worst thing Trump did was his tax cut.
In a little more detail, is the Espionage Act being used to bring Trump down?
Yes, do you ever notice he's reading these scripts more? This has turned into a production, hasn't it? I mean, there's still editing a lot. Maybe that's why there's more editing. Oh, that makes so much fucking sense. Okay, so it seems choppier than usual, and it's because he's reading. That's not... Usually you want to be editing because you're talking off the cuff and you want to tighten stuff up. Maybe fix a word flub or eliminate some ums. But,
Same way it was Assange and Snowden? Or is there a genuine concern that Trump was a threat to national security? Let me know in the comments. And
tell me this thing, engage with me in an artificial way that YouTube helps to push my show up in the algorithm. But see this graphic that's thrown on, but I'm an indie. But I am engaging in the sales methodology of Google. Let me know in the comments section how much you want to boost this video.
The chat is...
And obviously I have to put that in there so that when we buy views from India and they have those walls of telephones watching my videos over and over again, that I can point to the fact that I told people to comment. I didn't say they had to actually be relevant or actually watch it.
Is this a witch hunt or is this a legitimate judicial inquiry?
Inside the courtroom, Mr. Trump sitting with arms tightly crossed for much of the hearing that lasted less than an hour.
What's that supposed to mean? What's that additional detail? His arms are crossed. His arms are tightly crossed. Maybe.
Because we've all seen Trump when he's uncomfortable. Because there weren't any drawings yet. Because it is one of the biggest arraignments in American history.
Because he's got some secret documents under there.
Inside, Trump was arraigned on 37 felony counts, 31 of them in violation of the Espionage Act.
Now, how is the espionage frequently used, and why is...
How is espionage frequently used? Well, I think people just descend on a string into a vault and try not to sweat on the sensors.
it deployed? Is
it means the Espionage Act, but again, at this point, we're not editing anymore. Fuck it. In for a penny, in for a pound.
it in order to pursue justice, or is it in order to shut down dissent? On Tuesday, for the first time in US...
Yeah, you know, what they were sick of was Trump's protests. Yeah, they were shutting down dissent. That's why.
history, a former president was arraigned.
The Democratic Party, Donald Trump, and the espionage cite WSWS.org.
in court for violating federal criminal law. The decision to indict Donald Trump reflects profound divisions within the ruling class.
Oh, They say it's... Look, they're admitting it. The World Socialist Website Service.org is admitting we have a ruling class. They're saying it. I'm not saying it. They're saying it. I mean, I had to Google to find someone who would call, you know, the people who went after him the ruling class. That's how I ended up at wuss.org.
And accelerates a crisis that will rattle the foundations of the American political establishment in the coming weeks and months.
Profound divisions within the ruling class and accelerates a crisis that will rattle the foundation of the American political establishment in the coming weeks and months. You say that like it's a bad thing.
The indictment centers on Trump's retention of state secrets relating to US imperialism's plans for war.
Yes. We imperialistically prepared a plan to retaliate against Iran if Iran attacks Israel. Something they obviously would never even think of doing and never even talk about it doing.
Many of you, when sticking up for Donald Trump, often cite the fact that he was a rare example of a president that didn't go to war. Now, I think some drone strikes continued and stuff like
Some. He removed the rules of engagement to prevent civilian deaths that Obama put on. You fucking tool. He removed them. He basically said kill away. He thought Obama was being a pussy. Some drone strikes. This motherfucker.
But at least he didn't start any new.
He didn't start any new. Nah, he didn't end any, did he? By the way, Biden hasn't started any new wars. And if you're like, but what about Ukraine? I'm fairly certain. Well, I don't know how. Biden, to start the Russian war, the attack on Ukraine, Biden would have to have his ass so far, have his, yeah, let me build this. He would have to have his hand so far up Putin's ass that he could feel Trump's shoe.
Wars. So this is an interesting take, that the establishment in its imperialist aims requires ongoing war. That's a difficult.
Oh, okay. So the establishment needs ongoing war. So, you know, Trump didn't start any new ones. He was busy doing kind of that about like kind of creating asylum crises and border displacement, which is the effect of war, you know, around our southern border and that kind of stuff, missing abducted children, that kind of shit. And then just continuing the ones we were in. Right. Okay.
Thing to contradict. It appears that companies like Lockheed Martin, sponsors of gay pride, bizarrely, and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman have incredible power. And as part of a corporate body.
Yeah. We're only defending the Ukrainians because Lockheed Martin is making us. All right. This military-industrial complex shit has jumped the shark. I would argue there's a case for a variance of the MIC idea, or even, quite frankly, the Dick Cheney's ties to Halliburton and the idea that we can use the military and the industries around it to destroy a shit ton of Iraq, and then Halliburton will get to rebuild it, a part of which Cheney owns. That was much closer to the reality of the situation. He was in the rebuilding process. Like, we're going to wreck this fucking place, and then the government's going to pay me to build it back up, and I'm going to skate on that fucking money. There's more of a case to be made that the Iraq war was about Halliburton's profits than it was about Raytheon or any of these other companies.
That is the true governing power of the United States of America.
Horseshit.
Let me know in the comments.
Horseshit. But say that. Say yes and no and yes and no. And by the way, fuck the troops. Yeah. Anybody who uses that gear, obviously, tacitly, implicitly guilty in the military-industrial complex. I mean, the foot soldiers of the military-industrial complex are indeed the soldiers themselves. So, fuck veterans and anybody who's actually done any of this stuff. Let me know in the comments how awful they are.
Able to impose their aims and desires on the governing administration. So you have to decide, as a viewer, as an American, as a citizen of the world, what do you think motivates the establishment? The
establishment. There's one establishment. Well, I think probably just to stay established. Yeah. You're not talking about this whole we hold these truths to be self-evident. We establish, yeah.
For justice, a longing for righteousness? Or do you think, having observed society for a while now, that dominion and profit appear to be the main motivators when it comes to the actions of the powerful? Let me know in the
comments. Fuck off with this comment shit. I'm like, this is just tiresome. I'm done. The fascinating part of this dickhead to me is it is become knee-jerk. His entire description of how the world works is now a rubber stamp, and it's gotten like smaller and smaller and smaller to like it's to the point where he's selling this kind of self-evident conspiracy concept. And Tucker does the same fucking thing. He might as well, at one point, like I said, hippie Alex Jones is the direction, but now that Tucker's been broomed aside, that what the money you really go for until Tucker gets released from contract, or he, he could always give the money back. One of the ways that he could get out of his Fox contract is buy out the rest of his contract. He's rich. Why don't you fucking do that? If freedom's so important, give them back their $60 million or whatever the fuck for the next 2 years. It's probably 120 for the next, because of the rest of his contract. So he could do it. He could absolutely fucking do it. But that's what Russell's scooping up that Tucker Carlson idea. That there's a they, and they don't want you to, and they tell you how to, and this is how you're supposed to behave. And they're going to tell you that and that you think these things, but that's because you're awful. And they want you to know that. And you're not even allowed to say what you know is true. Like this, it's a fucking, like, I don't even know why they bother to type up a new script every fucking day. Good Lord. And by the way, hi chat room, and welcome to House Sparks Megaworldwide, you guys. Love you guys. It's hot in here. That's why I'm wearing a tank top, and I'm okay with it. Was getting Tucker wrinkles in your forehead watching him. Yeah. Huh? Right. Russell should wear a bow tie. He's going to bring that in. Why does Rusty have so many followers? Because they're cheap, and he's a millionaire. You can buy him. You can buy a lot of them. And what you do is he's definitely growing an audience to some degree, but then as you see an audience is growing, you buy like 60% of that, and you just build on this artificial wave idea. And then you reference the number as if it's natural all the time. 6.7 million, blah, 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 that whole thing. Yep. So your team tank top, good. All right. I'm also wearing a belt. This is a strange... I was in a hurry. You look like I have Nicolas Cage and Con Air. That's right. Put the bunny in the box. Yeah, the whataboutism is fucking embarrassing. So, Mr. Roper has a posse. It's hot here in Iowa too. 92 awful air quality. Well, it's cool outside here. But there you go. It's just hot in the house right now because I have all this gear on, and this room heats up when the sunlight hits it. It's just nothing I can do. Full Warriors. I have that vest. I should wear it one day with no shirt. Is that what I'm supposed to do? All right. Anyways, so this is a pretty consistent refrain from these dickheads. And hold on one second. Bunk. I need to close a window. There we go. Bring this back. And you're seeing a bunch of people running to his defense. And right now, there are two dogs fighting over a bone in faux-aggressive right-wing media. This is our two big stars of faux-aggressive politics, fake progressives, bullshitting the world that they give a rat's ass about actually changing a goddamn thing. And, the military industrial complex and the establishment, deep state, swamp, blah, 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 caricature that these assholes decry all the time is the dog these ticks feed on daily. And another example is the dude who we see some people who are like lining up to gargle Trump's balls. These people are going to have to hand over the crown to Jimmy Dore and the Tucker ball gargling that happens on his show. Good Lord. Every time Tucker puts one of these videos out, there's just this fawning booster idea. Like he's like one of the people who rides along in the other bus in Slapshot, showing his boobs to Tucker as he heads to the next game. And
you remember when this happened when Trump was president?
Yes, I remember covering that with you.
Handshakes Kim Jong-un, and then it says talks of peace sinks U.S. defense stocks.
Yeah, what?
So
thanks a lot, Trump.
So Tucker Carlson is going to.
Oh, by the way, I wasn't watching the show back then. Neither were you. But he's been defending him since then. Mm-hmm. By the way, the peace between the United States and North Korea has nothing to do with the expenditure of military hardware in the United States at all. North Korea could spend every second of every day building every weapon they could possibly build, and they will never reach what China has, which is pitiful, or what even Russia has / had. So the idea that somehow peace between us and North Korea is going to affect a stand down on military purchases in America or worldwide is fucking goofy. So let's take a look, if we will, because why not go back to that? Give me 1 second. This is, hold on. Trump, Kim, handshakes, defense stocks. We'll just go there. Yeah. This is, close, go away. Okay. Control plus. Okay. So, whoops. Shrink this down. This is the article that he references. Never seen it before. Let's give it a look. Trump-Kim handshake, talk of peace, sinks U.S. defense stocks. Talk of peace between the U.S. and nuclear-armed North Korea sank defense stocks Tuesday. While the broad U.S. stock market reacted to the historic agreement between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to establish a new relationship committed to peace and prosperity was muted, shares of defense contractors took a dive. Shares of Raytheon, which makes Patriot and Tomahawk missiles, closed 2.8% lower. Lockheed Martin, which supplies the Pentagon with air and missile defense systems, and the F-35 stealth fighter jet tumbled 1.3%. It tumbled a whole percent. And Northrop Grumman, which has increased its focus on cyber warfare and missile defense systems, declined 1.5%. Boeing, which makes Apache helicopters and practically every fucking plane that Southwest owns and that you've ever flown in, and aerial refueling, dipped 0.1%. Well, apparently they're not expecting Southwest to open a route to Pyongyang anytime soon. General Dynamics, a Navy shipbuilder, fell 1.6. By contrast, Dow Jones Industrial Average finished the day virtually unchanged with a loss of less than 2 points. Everything was in the margin of this 2%, this 2 points. While most stuff went up, apparently these 4 stocks were equal to the general drop in the entire fucking stock market that day. But I'm sure we'll learn more. Okay. Any political or diplomatic developments that lower the chance of military conflict cools interest in defense-focused companies, says Brad McMillan, Chief Investment Officer, Commonwealth Financial Network in Waltham, Mass. If weapons are used, they need to be replaced. That makes war a growth story for these stocks. And one of the big potential growth stories recently has been North Korea. What that agreement does, at least for a while, is take military conflict off the table. While peace overtures between the long time will put defense stocks on the defensive in the short term, investors shouldn't worry about long-term problems for makers of military equipment, explains Gary Kaltman, president of Kaltman. Funding will be plentiful for years to come. President Trump signed a $1.3 trillion spending bill in March that includes a $160 billion boost in defense spending over 2 years, reversing years of decline and unpredictable funding, according to U.S. Department of Defense. And thawing relations between the U.S. and North Korea isn't likely to translate into lower defense budgets. Bloomberg Intelligence aerospace analyst George Ferguson noted recently he expects the U.S. military expenditures to continue to rise. If North Korea turns from a pariah state to being welcomed in the world community, there's still enough trouble spots to require strong defense spending, supporting revenue and profit growth at prime defense contractors. These are the yeah buts. Read down to the yeah but. What do I always tell you? U.S.-based defense companies get a large portion of their sales from the Pentagon. U.S. government, both Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, for example, get 70% of their sales from the U.S. Not the government, but the U.S. in general, because they make a bunch of other shit, but whatever. According to Bloomberg. That's likely why the handshake between Trump and Kim that made global headlines in North Korea reaffirming plans has not been bullish development for defense stocks. Yeah, not being bullish is not the same thing as being bearish. Now, let's see. 420 p.m. East, June 12th, 2018 is when that was. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I want to look at something. Let's see. I don't want news. I don't want the actual. Hold on. Let's see. Stock news for. But Stock market. Let's see. Stories, maybe? I just want the year. I don't want now. Stop trying to give me shit I'm not asking for. Ah, here you go. While the rest of the market went down 2% in this particular day, some other stuff was just fine, blah, 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 and it was wonderful and everything. And then 2018 was the worst year for stocks in 10 years. And this is when they had no idea that COVID would pop onto the scene the following fall. Markets look for a fresh start in 2019. Oh dear. 2018 was a record-setting year for stocks, but it's one investors would rather forget. The Dow fell 5.6%. The S&P was down 6.2%. NASDAQ fell 4%. It was the worst year for stocks since 2008, and only the second year the Dow and the S&P fell in the past decade. Trumponomics. December was a particularly dreadful month. Let's see. The Dow was down 8.7%, worse since December 1931. In one 7-day stretch, the Dow fell by 350 points for more 6 times. Worst year for the index ever. Christmas Eve. S&P 500 was down more than 1% 9 times in December alone, compared to 8 times in 2017. It moved that much 64 times during the year. 2018 was all bad. The S&P set an all-time record on September 20th, and the Dow closed on its record October 3rd. Dow was closed more than 1,000 points higher on December 26th. First time ever to accomplish that feat. But 2018 will be remembered as extreme volatility. So tell me again how you can read into the year that was literally historic volatility as an example of this will tell you how the world feels about war and peace. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're on Twitch, we got to get our numbers up. Twitch.com/HalSparks. Although they are now taking way more money. So if you want a Venmo or PayPal tip jars right there, you could just kind of throw something that way. That's lovely. Or, you know, Venmo is where we're working to build our computer from. That's going to be the computer account, I think. So anything you can help, you can do to help. And if you can't do anything to help, I love you anyways. And I'm glad you're here because your time is the biggest gift you can give anyone in the world. And I'm grateful for it. There you go. All right, now let's go on to this dickhead taking the most volatile year in stocks since whatever 1930s, and yeah,
Stocks of peace sinks U.S. defense stocks.
Yeah, what?
it's almost like, and I would recommend if you're going to talk about the financial markets, I'd get more than one headline to prove my point.
So
Thanks a lot, Trump.
So Tucker Carlson is going to let you know why Trump was indicted. So we all know Trump got indicted.
We did? What? When did that happen?
It's, again, the most garbage of garbage things.
It's the most garbage of garbage things. The most garbage of garbage things. Hot take from Jimmy Dore. Trump's totally innocent. They made it all up. It's the most garbage. The FBI brought those boxes in. They're full of pictures of his grandkids taken by the White House photographer that Barack Obama retroactively classified.
It's about some he didn't handle classified documents correctly.
Nope. No, it isn't. It's not. That's what the Hillary, Biden, and Pence stuff is about. That's civil and can be worked out as a gentle person's agreement. This is about engaging in a conspiracy and withholding documents he knows he had no right to and that were secret at the time, that he admits on tape. This isn't even fucking close. So understand from this point on that Jimmy is simping. Because he's either not read the indictment, which I doubt he's read it, or he's pretending he didn't.
Like, for what I understand, taking home classified documents is basically the same as taking home a stapler.
Yeah,
at this point,
they all do it.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the problem is when they ask for the stapler back and you engage in a game of cat and mouse playing hide the stapler, which I'm sure Kurt and Jimmy have played. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. It sounds like a good weekend.
A, and B, by the way, he's the guy who determines what's classified and what's not.
Right, and he did not declassify those documents. So what's your fucking point? He knows he didn't declassify them. He knows he did not determine that they were declassified. He knows that they're not for public consumption. If they're declassified, I put in a FOIA request last week for all the documents marked classified that were at Mar-a-Lago after the date of January 21st, 2021. If Trump declassified those things or magically declassified them or had the ability to declassify them just by taking them out of the Oval Office, I should have the right to have all those documents and post them as anywhere I want online or read them out loud. What's the fucking problem?
So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
There's nobody higher than anyway. So that's so Trucker Carlson's going to tell you. So he did
Trucker Carlson.
another monologue. Doug Carlson.
By the way, why is Kurt on like a TV monitor?
His third show on Twitter.
Is Jimmy doing it from someplace else and they've created a green screen fake space for him? It looks like the same chair.
And I'm just going to show you the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, and masturbate while you're watching it. What's the protocol, Jimmy? I mean, please don't do what you do during the entire show of Tucker Carlson's thing. It's family hour.
And this is what it's really all about.
But what about voters?
What about her?
What are they learning from this spectacle?
That we live in a democracy and no one's above the law? I mean...
Well, mostly they're learning that they have no power at all because nobody cares about them. But they
Again, what the... who? I think a lot of people thought that nobody cared about them when they weren't prosecuting this motherfucker. The majority of the voters the last time around. Because if you're going to make the case that all Republican voters during the last election are Trump folks and not just voting for the R or against communism or whatever the fuck fear base that they used to motivate those voters at the time. What about the 81 million who voted for Joe Biden who are like, when are we going to throw this motherfucker in jail? It's obvious that he's committing a crime. I mean, I feel heard.
already knew that. Unlike so many...
Yeah, they already knew that. That's why nobody showed up. Nobody voted in 2020. Turnout was terrible. They got these free mail-in ballots. Nobody even sent them in.
Of our elected leaders, they have been to America recently. They know what it looks like. Have you seen it? If you've got a few days this summer, find out. Take a road trip and see.
Okay, wait a second. This is where Jimmy's going to agree with Tucker that apparently any place outside of a big city or a rich area where Tucker is used to being is ass.
For yourself. Drive 500 miles in any direction and then
500 miles in any direction.
Come home. How are things looking?
And just do that. Do a 1,000-mile lap and look out for any shit you might find. Now, granted, if you're leaving Los Angeles, you'll get, and you drive through Devin Nunes's district, his old district, to San Francisco, and then turn right back around and just stay on the 5 the whole time. It's ass, but that was always true. But you drive up the coast, it's quite lovely, and the little bed and breakfasts and the little restaurants that are open, and even Silicon Valley, like there was a dip in, like, rent was almost becoming affordable in the Cupertino area for a little while. Not anymore.
Well, they should look great.
They should look great.
The federal government spent $6.5 trillion last year. That's more than any government has ever spent, ever.
Well, and again, not last year as part of the COVID process is what he's talking about. But that money, once Trump spent it, it just stayed spent, is the idea. And the budget of the government overall for everything that it does forever, especially when it comes to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and paying the debt on those kind of things. What that budgetary need, another conversation entirely. But that has no reflection on how well the economy is doing where people are. Because there are times when we've spent more than that amount, and yet standard of living was lower or higher. It's not related.
So at the very least, you would expect pristine public roads.
Well, I see a lot of construction. I see the attempt to make them pristine. I certainly didn't see any of that shit during the Trump years.
Oh, no. That's not what you see when you drive around this country.
Look at Jimmy. No. I mean, just come up into the Hollywood Hills. I live in one of the richest areas in the country, and $1.4 million house, and there's soft curbs everywhere. I mean, obviously, it's there's smaller roads and stuff because we want to maximize the real estate, and it's an investment property, and that that makes a lot of sense. But
there are potholes and Jersey barriers everywhere.
Yeah, the world is a giant pothole. I know most of the people. I like you guys. I just don't drive. I mean, first of all, whatever you do, don't drive 1,000 miles round trip because if you find the giant pothole, you're not getting out. It's somewhere around Portland. #RIP Portland. Goodbye, Portland. We hardly knew you.
Looks like Tegucigalpa before the Chinese decided to rebuild the infrastructure of Honduras.
Yeah, that's what the United States looks like. And that's what it would look like to a heir to the Swanson dinner fortune who barely ever leaves his cedar closet rec room in upstate New York.
We don't have China buying our roads.
Thank God.
So the point that Tucker's making right now.
Oh, okay. Guys, we have Tucker translations live from Jimmy. Let's see if he. Now, what I've basically seen from Tucker is that what infrastructure bill is the idea, and that the country is falling apart. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. And the Biden administration isn't doing anything. It's probably because there's a gay guy running the Department of Transportation. That's the inference that we're supposed to take from that, is his tacit implication. But Jimmy, for those of you that don't speak Tucker because you have too many Tucker, I can't even say his name properly. Why would I want to?
No.
He's gonna translate it for his audience, who apparently he thinks are even dumber than he is
that our government is so corrupted that we're ending the way all empires end.
No, that's not what he's saying.
We're spending all this money on nothing.
On nothing. Just healthcare and veterans benefits and airports and nothing. Just keeping people alive during a pandemic. What a fucking waste. All these useless eaters. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jimmy Dore, winner of the Henry Kissinger Award for detesting of the normals.
Meaning it's just going right to corruption.
It's just going right to corruption. That's how they all end. Some of them were raided by bigger, stronger tribes and murdered. Like the Russians are trying to do to the Ukrainians right now.
That's what it is. The CARES Act was nothing but corruption.
That's all it was. It was corruption. Nobody cares. You think people fucking care? It didn't benefit anybody. You're not alive right now. Okay? Also, he's talking about, he is making an important distinction. He's relating the $6 trillion to the CARES Act, where Tucker is trying to imply that that's the budget all the time, that we just dump trillions of dollars. And again, the government did do about $6.5 trillion worth of direct stimulus to fill a $20 trillion hole in the economy caused by COVID. Now, sexually, I'm sure both of these gentlemen know what it's like to try and fill a $20 trillion hole with $6 trillion, metaphorically speaking. And they're aware of that level of disappointment. But you never tell anybody about that, I guess. You just brag.
That was a $5 trillion corruption package that...
It was a corruption package. It just went to oligarchs and rich people and rich oligarchs.
Bernie Sanders and all the Democrats said was good for you, and they all lied.
They all lied. It's bad for you. You should have just sucked it up, America, you wusses.
And what he's pointing this out.
Is he? Because I think you're just taking the general tenor of fuck government spending and just dovetailing it into your stupid argument that it's all over. It's fucking over. It's over. The entire country's over. It's been over for a long time. And it's dead and it just doesn't know it yet, which has been this asshole story for fucking years now.
That we're not even, Our country is crumbling underneath us. Our infrastructure is crumbling as we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to corrupt countries. We're spending all kinds of money, but we're not spending it on us. And you know,
okay. Now, there's a reason why Jimmy just does not give a fuck. He just does not, like, he's never going to read anything that contradicts his belief system. Like, there are people who operate entirely on confirmation bias on the internet. And then there are people who, like, their confirmation bias is actually based on stiff-arming any form of reality. Jimmy is always talking about how the ruble is doing great right now. And the Russian ruble and the Russian economy is doing fantastic. No matter what Westerners try to do, we haven't done anything. The ruble is trading at 11 yuan right now, Chinese yuan. You can get 11 Chinese yuan for 1 ruble. You used to be able to get, last year, you got 7 yuan for it. So if you think I'm just kind of like US dollar versus ruble, making a comparison that the US dollar, which is worth more than $1 right now, is where you could buy 86 rubles, Russian rubles, with one US dollar. 86. It's 86 to 1 right now, today. This time last year, it was 60. You could buy 60. That's not economic growth. Now, if it was just the US dollar, you could say this is a tit for tat kind of, they're monkeying around with the numbers and yada yada. But the same 40% difference that they've had to deal with is true in every currency the ruble is traded in right now, including the Chinese yuan. Now, Jimmy talks all the time about how, China's going to eat our lunch and Russia's kicking ass and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's take a look real quick at infrastructure projects today. This is a December 15th. This is from December 15th, 2022. Here you go. Following projects are planned as part of the quarter 222 run the gamut from railroad, bridges. Here you go. This is an actual list of infrastructure projects ongoing, like right now. This is the top 25 as far as expenditures. The Gateway Program Hudson Tunnel Project, which is very big around New York, $12 billion. Partnership between the federal government and New York City. The Cross Harbor Freight Tunnel and rail improvements, $7 billion. Maryland AM Legion Bridge Road, phase 1 in Bethesda, that's $5 billion. High-speed rail track, Las Vegas to Victorville, $4.8 billion. Planned for that. That's actually, they're still talking about it. They're still trying to get it done, and it's number 4 in its expenditure as far as the value. The top 20 are valued at $1 billion and above. They're in the planning stages as of quarter 2, 2022, and these are the planning ones. Infrastructure projects in start. Projects in Texas, Hawaii, North Carolina, North Dakota, Michigan rounded out of the top 5 projects, which were reported as in start quarter 1, 22. This is last year, beginning the first of last year. Texas, $606 million for the IH-35 freeway. Sand Island WWTP secondary treatment phase. Airport runway added to the Morrisville, North Carolina airport. US 83 HMA improvements. Michigan DOT I-696 concrete and sidewalk reconstruction. Pavement improvements. 17-mile flood protection in Missouri around Kansas City. Florida Department of Transportation widening construction to add those to widen the road in Mineola, the freeway around there. South Canadian wastewater treatment plant expansion in Oklahoma City. Arkansas Department of Transportation widening improvements. These are all, cleaning roads and widening them at the same time. Like you don't want to add a lane and then not fill the potholes. It's all done at once. And if you're going to do it, do all of it. That's what's happening. That's why you're seeing a widening improvements in this. US 77 freeway improvements. California concrete pavement improvement. $176 million for that. Williamsburg Bridge rehabilitation rebid. North Dakota. Washington State, the Chief Joseph Dam generator rewinds in Bridgeport, paving improvements, Grains water treatment plant expansion in Brighton, Colorado. So those that's just for starters. Okay, these are the top 25 U.S. infrastructure projects ongoing and planned as of December 15th, 2022. We're now in 2023. This is all part of the infrastructure bill and the Biden budgets that we've seen already. Jimmy doesn't know about any of those things. Neither does Kurt. They have no interest whatsoever. And you want to see, let me show you a piece of, can I show you something? This is Jimmy's biggest, here, let me show you Jimmy's worst nightmare. This is going to really fuck with him. This is going to be, he's not going to like this. He's not going to like it at all. There's a couple things. Where is it? I posted this earlier. Okay, first of all, this one, the Friends of Jimmy, the Fidge, over at the GOP posted this whole thing. 61% of workers report living paycheck to paycheck in Biden's America, which is down 17% under Biden. It was 78% when Trump was in office. While Trump was in office, 78% reported living paycheck to paycheck. Now, under Joe Biden, 61% of workers report living paycheck to paycheck. Could we get it lower? Absolutely. Is it going in the right direction? Absolutely. Do you want to get the guy back in office who left it at 78% and was like, we're doing a great job. We're doing such a great job. It's a great job. Fucking great job. Great job, everybody. Great job. You're doing such a great job. The other one is, if I may, I'm going to Viva Las Vegas. Where are we? Trump is yeah. Okay. Yeah. So oh man, I think I posted it in here. Yeah. No, I do it under the GOP or where? Hold on. I gotta find this paper. Okay. It's on. Hold on. I'm gonna bring you in chat room for 1 second because I want to find this myself. I think I have it on the story in here, and I'll send it to my crew in here. Where is it? There was a report today on the, let's see, worker confidence. New, let's see, latest. Da-da-da. I'm going to find it. It's going to bug me, but I don't care. Hang in there. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I found it. Okay, give me 1 second. This is so fun. I like, it's worth irritating these fuckers. So, Dean, I looked at it. I just had it. Okay. This is, and again, no one has any illusions that that there's not still work to do. The question is, who's actually doing the work and wants it to actually result in something fucking good? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, here you go. All right. There's going to be, here you go. And 3, 2, load. There we go. All right. Job satisfaction report 2023. This report is done every year since 1987. They do this study every year. So this was during Reagan when they started this, and all through the Bush 1, Bush 2, Clinton, Obama, Trump, and then, of course, Joe Biden. Job satisfaction 2023. U.S. worker satisfaction continues to increase. U.S. workers have never been more content. Overall job satisfaction amongst U.S. workers, which is one of the things that I think Jerome Powell is trying to fuck with, but we'll get to that in a second. He's not going to do it, though. They're going to pause the rates. But there you Overall job satisfaction among U.S. workers increased 2022 to its highest point since the Conference Board began surveying U.S. worker satisfaction in 1987. Largest gains occurred in experience of work components such as work-life balance, workload, performance review process, largely because a lot of people split time between an office and home, are able to, be around their kids more and all that kind of stuff while still doing basically the same job. Go fucking figure. Now, obviously, if you work at a factory, you can't do that. So if you're able to do that because of the kind of job you have, like the job I have right now or whatever, count your fucking blessings and thank somebody who actually has to show up someplace to do their fucking job. And that's my roundabout way of saying if you're rude to waiters or custodians or anybody like that, you're a raging piece of shit and I don't want to talk to you. Okay, so the satisfaction with compensation benefits components, including health plans, bonus plans, and education and job training programs also significantly improved in 2022 compared to a year ago. Job satisfaction is at the highest level since our survey began. Now, this isn't all rosy. There's still work to be done. But it's kind of amazing where we are compared to where we were, because that's how you measure progress. You don't go, well, if it's not perfect, then just fuck it. Just set fire to the whole thing, which is the Jimmy Dore, economic strategy for everybody else but him. So 3 decades, largely due to tight labor market and more flexible work arrangements. Despite predictions of a mild recession in 2023, the labor market is expected to remain tight. Tight? To remain competitive in attracting and retaining talent, employers should continue to offering enticements. Yummy. That sounds so much better than benefits. Enticements. So, women are significantly less satisfied than men across all 26 job satisfaction components surveyed, which means firms need to be more conscious and intentional about achieving pay equity and addressing gender gaps amongst numerous other factors of satisfaction. I agree. And that's why I voted for the guy of the last two people who are actually going to be fucking president when you choose between one of them who actually gives a raging fuck about how women do in the workplace and has put some of them on the fucking Supreme Court and has put a bunch of them in charge of actual important cabinet positions and made the fucking vice president a woman because he thinks it's about fucking time. It matters. Doesn't matter, dude. That's all identity politics. Across the majority of 26 factor surveyed employees with hybrid work arrangements reported the greatest job satisfaction, that's exactly what I was talking about, compared to fully remote or fully on-premise workers. Where possible, leaders should continue the support of hybrid work arrangements to keep job satisfaction high. So everybody who only works from home is just as miserable as only on-premise workers in that idea. Apart from the competitive pay, the factors that most influenced employee retention center around work, experience, and culture. So having a good time and, working at someplace with fucking beanbags and upright video games, I suppose, is one of the things. But the competitive pay part, where you can work on your own environment, is often better. And by the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, and patreon.com/HalSparks. I would like to keep doing this as a job instead of having to, jettison the first sign of a more lucrative work. These factors intersect with top predictors of overall job satisfaction, suggesting that leaders should prioritize the cultural aspects of work to drive both employee retention and job satisfaction. This is that measure. Started in 1987, it was 61.1. That was the highest ever. They asked people. And then, again, just like quantum physics, you can judge speed but not mass, or mass but not speed. If you look at something or you start asking people about something, they will eventually start complaining, even if they don't have any complaints. So they start asking, and then it starts to crater. And obviously, a lot of this has to do with the shift in work demands versus assisted productivity. Because if you'll notice, one of the things that leveled it out was the introduction of the smartphone, and then the expense of technology and what it actually did that it had a dipping effect, and then of course, like, it was starting on its rise, and then like here it dipped down around here, and then it cadavered around 2008, obviously, because people were taking jobs they didn't want to take because they needed a fucking job. Lowest point of the entire thing was 2010, because this is when you lost your job, and this was when you were able to find a job as shit started to heal. It took 2 years, right? Here's Obama's first year in office, and then after that, after they start salvaging it, this is when Jimmy said they fucked up everything, and Obama destroyed the economy and wrecked everything. This is when it started to go up again, 2010, up through here. Then we get to 2016, levels out around 2017, and they start asking people 2017 to 2019, 2020, it's on a normal climb in line with what you're seeing here, right? And then you get to 2021 and boink, it keeps going up. After that, there's the election right there. It's on its chart up. Whoop, it's just going in the right direction. Didn't change, didn't collapse, didn't anything. We surveyed workers out of 26 components of job satisfaction 2022. 23 were identical to those surveyed in 2021. Each component improved, with the largest gains occurring in non-compensation related job satisfaction. Compared to 2021, the largest improvements in job satisfaction came from, quote, work-life balance, 5 points, workload, 4.5 points, and performance review process, 4.3, because they could do it via Zoom, and so they didn't have to sit in the office with the gropey McGroperson. I can't be the only person having this experience. How we like your acting, but we'd like to have a sit down with you. Could you, no, lay down, face down. Anyways, yeah, so overall satisfaction, there you go, the last measurement, 2022, 62.3. Difference of 2.1 from the year before. It's gone up. Work-life balance up, there you go. Now, the vacation policy stayed about the same, went up a little bit. Physical environment went up a little bit. Mental health benefit, quality of leadership, organizational culture, they only judged it later. Like this year, they started adding that. So this is the standard, but there's been no non-applicable because they didn't even ask before. So, just to be abundantly clear,
Who else made that
not only will Jimmy not read that, he can't.
point? The guy who was just on this show, Chris Hedges, in his book called America: The Farewell Tour.
Uh-huh. Where did he used to work? He used to work someplace, and they shut it down. I don't remember. Anybody remember why? I gotta look. Something to do with it. Was a toxic work environment, something.
He documents the hollowing out of America's infrastructure.
Did he document it? Uh-huh. By the did he do a new updated version of it where Biden passed an infrastructure bill and projects have actually started? Did he hey guys, there's an asterisk now on the title. Shit.
Our cities because of neoliberalism, capitalism. Well,
because of neoliberalism, capitalism. That's why. That's not because Republicans fought an infrastructure bill that they themselves would agree on because it would have given Barack Obama a win, and then Trump didn't want to do anything that anybody else had crafted before because he's an egotistical dickhead. And then Biden went, I don't care, let's just do the fucking thing.
Tucker Carlson is onto that too.
Is he? It's interesting that our bellwethers in this situation, the canary in the coal mine for economic difficulty is a dude who lives in $1 million house in the Hollywood Hills and a dude who lives in a $20 million house in upstate New York, both of whom have TV studios in them. You know, blue collar.
Now he knows that the government is completely corrupted.
Does he? How's he feel about Fox?
And that we're spending all our money on Empire.
Are we? I thought they canceled that show.
And none of it on our own people. And that's...
None of it. We're not spending any money on our own people. It's so sad. It's terrible. Like the agriculture bill. It's just about farming in Ottawa.
The point he just made.
No, it isn't.
But the bigger point is that...
He didn't make that point. He made a point that the economy should be doing great and that money should be translating into roads and bridges and stuff, but the place is a shithole because he just looks at everything that isn't the fucking Hamptons like, oh my God, this is how people live.
Everybody in the news business is on board for that agenda. And he's the only one pushing back, which is why he got fired. He's got
No, it's not. He got fired because he cost the network about $1 billion.
a little bit more to say.
Really?
So they're falling apart.
Yes, the roads are falling apart. Everything's falling apart. I don't even ride on the roads anymore. I ride on the shoulder because it's seen the least amount of action.
You'd think the people you would pass on your road trip would look happy and prosperous. Again,
yeah, but they're seeing you. So you gotta understand, Tucker, like you're gonna think everybody's miserable because when they see you, they're like, oh, that fucking guy. See what I mean? I don't know about you. I walk around and I see a lot of people having a good time. I see a lot of smiley people. I do. It's lovely.
this is a very
Even when I'm not recognized because of my flowing locks. Even when I'm misgendered by Lab Rats fans who are like, what the hell?
Rich country. But a lot of them don't. Quite a few appear to be strung out on drugs.
Oh, so you've been to Mar-a-Lago. All right. Quite a few of them seem to be strung out on drugs. I think Jimmy feels betrayed.
See them shuffling by shuttered storefronts in small towns.
Do you?
And you wonder, as you see all of this, where did all the money go? It's certainly not.
We give these poor people all this fucking money, and these fucking homeless people, we build all these shelters, and we give money to like fucking soup kitchens, and you donate to stuff. Where the fuck does it go? Up in their arm? People are trash. Right, Jimmy? The fuck?
Here, well, it's in Washington. It's in Fairfax.
I don't even know what the fuck he's nodding about. It's all in Washington. You think it's not here. It's in no, I thought it was in Ukraine. Weren't we sending it? Don't Americans live in Fairfax, Virginia?
In Loudoun counties and in leafy, perfectly manicured Northwest DC.
And your neighborhood and Jimmy's.
And of course, a huge chunk of it went to Ukraine, to Zelensky.
Look at this. He's even Tucker agrees with me. What do you mean even Tucker agrees with you? Yes, we know you guys are basically psychically conjoined twins.
Zelensky and his
at this point.
Friends. Not because you voted for that. You didn't vote to.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I voted for that. I voted for Joe Biden to make decisions that I would view as humane and important. And he did. It wasn't on the ballot because it hadn't fucking happened yet. Blame Vladimir Putin. If Russia hadn't invaded and we were investing this amount of money into Ukraine, be a bit hinky. It's amazing if the dude bribed Biden $5 million to help Ukraine, the fuck did he bribe Putin to attack it and lose 250,000 of his own countrymen?
Give it to them. You never would.
Yeah, I would. Yes, I would.
But because Joe Biden and his many allies, from Chuck Schumer to Mitch
so none of his allies would watch this shit, is what you're saying.
McConnell.
By the way, is Jimmy just having a fucking watch party? Eek.
To Paul Ryan and every single news anchor on all of television, all of them believe.
All of them. Everybody who's still got a job in cable news is different than me.
That Ukraine, its borders, its future, its infrastructure are all more important than the town that you live in.
No. Nope. It's an important priority, but it's part of the defense part of our budget. If it was more important than that, then we would be diverting infrastructure funds to build their roads.
I sincerely think that, and it's obvious.
Hold on.
All of television, all of them believe that Ukraine, its borders, its future, its infrastructure are all more important than the town that you live in. They sincerely think that, and it's
no, they don't.
Obvious.
No, it isn't.
Everyone in power thinks that.
I don't know. Is this Jimmy's show now? Is he just like an outrage sign language interpreter? He like a sign language interpreter normally would just take what Tucker's saying and translate it for people who are deaf. What Jimmy is trying to do is translate the kind of vapid, low energy, whiny tone of Tucker Carlson and kind of goose it up into, aren't you mad now?
Everyone in power thinks Ukraine is more important than fixing homelessness in America or fixing a bridge in America.
Everyone in power is more interested in Ukraine than they are in fixing homelessness or a bridge in America. And why are we putting any money in this country towards those things? Why are we putting more money into those things? By the way, state to state. Now, the federal government cannot build homeless shelters in a state without that state's permission. And if they could build all kinds of buildings. So the laws and rules are different state to state. Now, there's federal funding to support those efforts, but they are borrowed and bond initiative and the based on bond initiatives, and the legislatures of each state have to work those things through. Now, which party do you think takes more steps to build affordable housing or make changes in the housing structure of an area and increase building versus the other when you elect them? Fuck it, flip
getting
a
a
coin.
living wage in America, or getting free college in America, or ending student debt in America, or anything in America.
First of all, you do have, for large part, you can get effectively free college in America. University is a different thing. But there are there's so much financial aid available that is gratis. And again, it's the Biden and the Obama administrations that did the most to move that ball down the field. Trump's not even interested in that shit. Otherwise, you're not a bootstrapper.
Why? Because they're not there to serve you. They're there to serve their corporate donors, which is
what corporate donors? And also, if you're poor forever, what money are their corporate donors going to make? If these super rich oligarchs are out there, what the fuck are they going to sell to fucking dirt poor paupers scrounging for fucking acorns in the dirt? Every corporation in the United States, anyways, has a reason, with rare exception, I suppose, a reason for a gigantic middle class with extra money in their pocket. Some of them just argue that they don't want to pay taxes and get that, and they think they can just bullshit people into giving them their money.
why we live in a completely 100% corrupted country, which
we're in a 100% corrupted country. Why should anyone listen to you? If it's 100% corrupt, everybody's corrupt. Everybody's corrupt. Nobody's corrupt. That's how the system works. If you live inside the system while decrying the system, you are part of the system. You are the system.
is why that military budget that
Sorry, somebody was saying in the chat room, is Hal still optimistic? I need a pick-me-up. You goddamn right I am. Go listen to my the podcast I did with Bob Seska if you need a pick-me-up. I'm there for you. Fear not. And by the way, can I remind you, in case you're just joining us right now, what we are watching right now is a video of 2 millionaires telling all their internet viewers who are watching their shows on their laptops, their flat screen TVs, or their $700 minimum cell phones, that their country around them, their neighborhoods, the places they actually live, not where they are, but where you are, is a shithole. And it's an unrecoverable shithole because you're powerless, because you are a sucker who votes. And every time you vote, they just screw you. And it's the same fucking argument. But the base of it is we're seeing 2 millionaires telling us all how we live in hell. And by the way, maybe, by comparison, we do. I don't live in $1 million house. I certainly don't live in a $20 million house. But these two assholes do. So maybe, just maybe, it's their perspective. Maybe when the rest of us look at the infrastructure around us, we recognize that's the wear and tear of actual people living actual lives, going to actual fucking jobs, doing shit. And that asphalt is one of those things they need to, maybe innovate a replacement for sometime in the future, because it breaks down over time. Because as cars get heavier and faster and stronger and all that kind of stuff, and trucks are providing bigger and heavier goods, or stacking fucking, 2 trucks on top of each other and all that kind of stuff, they break those things down. And we have to repair those things, and it's part of state budgets and it's part of federal budgets, and that's just the reality of people who actually live in the real world. But these two motherfuckers, one who lives largely on his iPad and another one who lives in a $20 million pad, neither of whom are regularly bothered by they don't see any regular people unless they're in an audience at a show. In which case, again, fold that into the perspective. And that's assuming that, and anybody who's come up, I've had people come up to me at a show and disagree with either a premise or joke, or not think something's funny, or not think something should be talked about, or in the political realm of things where people would be sensitive about something. I've had conversations about stuff. I've even had people come up and they don't like what my character did on Queer as Folk and who they did it with, because they should have been doing it with somebody else or whatever. I've never had an argument post show about any of that shit. We have a nice conversation. This motherfucker yells at anybody who disagrees with him immediately, like a fucking blown fuse. And this asshole, when's the only time that motherfucker will ever fill his own gas tank is when somebody's filming it so he can look like he's not in an ivory tower.
It's $1 trillion is $1 trillion of complete corruption.
Again, this is, again, then fucking leave. There's a difference between saying, America love it or leave it concept of you got to love everything we do or you got to get the fuck out. There's a difference between that, which I think is a ridiculous notion, and the idea that the country that you are in and that you are a citizen of does zero good in the world, and not only that, is the actual genesis of all terrorism, violence, and exploitation on the fucking planet. That's not, not having a pure love or a pure patriotism and, having some sort of country idea of if you don't wear a flag and you don't put it on your truck, I don't want to talk. You get out of here, go live in Cuba, you commie. That's not the same thing, because that person may have a problem with the United States, or they may, want to deal with the leftover problems from slavery and redlining and those kind of things, and the intrinsic problems that a country will face when it has a broad, diverse populace that's interacting together. For immigrants, people born here, people brought here, there's a whole gamut of things, and that's very complicated. And in addressing that complication, some America love it or leave it types in the South oftentimes will say, fuck you, don't question anything. That's absurd. That's very different, though, than this motherfucker who thinks that the country he lives in $1 million home, and who he broadcasts from, being able to say whatever he wants about the government anytime he wants, freely with zero ramifications, is the root of all evil on the planet. And I myself, if I believe that to be the case, if I lived in Bombdonia, and it was this evil country that all we did, we were run by Dr. Evil, and all we did was bomb shit, and we lived on a volcano island, and occasionally I saw boats going by from other countries, I gotta say, in good conscience, at some point I'd have to make a swim for it. And I certainly, if I was in the country that was the root of all evil on the planet, and I genuinely believed that the government was completely corrupt, murderous, and did not allow dissent, and the only thing that could bring it down is absolute bloody revolution, the one thing I sure as shit wouldn't do is any of the drugs in that country. For my own safety. And what you can draw from that is not that I wish this dickhead ill, but that this asshole doesn't believe a word he's fucking saying about that. He doesn't think he lives in the most corrupt country in the world. He doesn't even have a basis to compare it to. He's got like a Hanna-Barbera level of understanding of world events. Because if he thought it through at all, he'd go, I have to leave. I can't be here. I've got to leave this country and speak my truth from someplace else. Someplace safe. Someplace like, fuck. Someplace with a Starbucks. Right. So anyways, you're watching House Parks Mega Worldwide. I love you and I appreciate you. And I thank you for doing that. Now, in a similar vein, there is effectively drinks tea with his pinky up. Yeah, there's a lot of that. All right. Okay, so. Oh, okay. We have. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this in here real quick. So the. All right, why is that not coming? There we go. We have a Facebook is the place for a lot of our better trolls, and I want to thank you guys. By the way, thank you for bringing it up, Sharon. When we have trolls in here, it is the one thing that boosts our algorithm more than anything else, because while like attracts like, you can create a cul-de-sac in the algorithm of, only the same people are watching all the time. And the best thing about trolls dropping by is that they broaden us out into the algorithm. And I want to thank you guys for being here, because you are giving us the gift that the greatest gift you can give any person on the planet, which is your time, and you can't get it back. Once it's gone, once you spend your time on anything but things that make you absolutely joyful or feel satisfied, or that you believe has value, you're just throwing your most valuable possession away. And that shows me something about your character and your wanton disregard for your own life. So why would I take seriously anything you think or say about anybody else? Now, we get this one a lot. Here's a good example here. Are you trans? No, I'm not. I'm a man with long hair. Who else? Jesus? He had long hair, right? Didn't all the apostles have long hair? William Wallace. All the vast majority of the musicians I like. So no, I'm not trans. That's a conversation you'll have to have elsewhere. Can't figure it out. Well, bend over and let's find out, as George Carlin would say. Your mouth is like a child who just learned curse words. My mouth is just like a child that just learned curse words. I got to say, that sounds like ESL to me. That sounds like ESL trolling. Yeah? What do you think, guys? Either they put that in a translator, or they just learned English. Your mouth is just... Hold on, I got to look at this. I'm trying to read this. Why did it scroll past? God, Robert. Why do you go by? Crap. Oh, it went away. All right. Also, somebody was in here. Who is that? Did somebody just go, Americans are charging the Mexican and Canadian borders? Yes, totally. Sharon Flynn, did somebody hurt you? Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, that's the issue, isn't it? That's the problem, is that Trump became... See, once I start engaging the chat, then it kicks up. Oh, it got deleted. I see. Sharon Flynn, any relation to Mike Flynn? Now, she just took the name. Yeah, it pisses me off when people fucking swear too, in that order. I got a pretty mouth. Thank you. I think she meant potty mouth, but I get you. That's like saying doing the pot. Yeah, exactly. I thought Tuckham's was told he can't be one podcast and have a show. No, yeah, he's got a cease and desist thing. He'll keep doing it until they do it in court, and then he'll cease and desist then. Yeah, Russell Brand has long hair. I guess because he's got a beard, so therefore, it's very strange. How marvelous. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Uh-oh, I don't look like everyone else. Tells about your chandelier bathroom. Oh, adorably dumb, long hair plus equals woman. Man, that's weak sauce, Ted Nugent. I know, that's the funny part. Like the people that they shit on all the time who have long hair, and and then turn right around. It's the same thing they do with celebrities. Fucking Hollywood and celebrities and stuff like it. But Jim Caviezel, and it's wonderful that Ricky Schroeder, and as Dean Cain said the other day, you're like, all right. Have a fucking standard. Long hair on men is a mark of civilization and the lack of lice. I agree. Yeah, so yes, this is my hair. This is how it attaches to my head. This is it. So, sorry. I'm sorry if you don't like it. Actually, I'm not. I think it's kind of funny. It's a little fluffy today, though. I will say it's very poodly in some ways. Because I was in a big hurry. Anyways, yeah, Scott Baio said that Dean Cain was going to come in here with John Voight and tell us how bad Hollywood is. Yeah, Hercules, thank you. Ricky was adorable in The Champ. Yes, well, Founding Fathers wore long wigs and wore stockings. Exactly. More spaniely? Thanks very much. Yeah, it's true. It is a little spaniely today. It's true. It's tuggable. All right. Obama's going to be on Joy Reid. That's nice. Okay, cool. We'll cover that in a minute because we only got about 10 minutes left in the show. I cover metal bands, long hair is needed. I agree. I have the thing about musicians, especially rock musicians and metal musicians. I don't want you to look like you could just go back to your regular job tomorrow. It's sort of a commitment thing. Scott Baio gave you pink eye. Well, we're waiting. Samson's strength was in his hair. Yeah. Ben Franklin was a hippie commie. Right. Hair is now unnecessary for survival, so its only purpose anymore is aesthetics and entertainment. Do whatever the fuck you want with it. I agree. I mean, I think that it's necessary for survival if you're in a mosh pit. Oh, that was a South Park joke. Good. I'm revisiting the mullet. I'm for it. Sometimes I will tuck my hair behind my ears and I get like the world's longest mullet. Here it is. You want to see it? This is like world's biggest mullet. That's what it looks like to me. It's a little silly. Come on. Whoops, I knocked my headphone out. Hold on. And I got to pick it up because Chip will do it. We'll pick it up and run with it. All right. So, anyways, thanks for the trolls being here. And I'm sorry that my fucking language and my goddamn long hair upsets you. But I am glad that it doesn't upset you enough to make you leave. And you keep boosting my numbers, which reminds me, give a thumbs up, support the show, hit that like, share the show. That helps. Let people know you're watching. Let people know you watch on the regular. People are asking, what shows should they watch? Stuff. You can recommend me. You could be a human algorithm. Hal would like to see you debate Dorr. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Anytime. He tends to gish gallop though, and it's a waste of fucking time. But I don't mind. I mean, I can break through that. Because can I say outrageous? Can I say for the record, and this might be news to some people, and maybe you don't need to hear it, but you need permission, or maybe you don't need permission, but you need to hear it. You don't have to let people get away with a gish gallop. When they're arguing, you're allowed to go, whoa, 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 1 point at a time, 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 whoa, 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 until they actually stop. They don't have, because they'll push back on it maybe 2 times. Socially, when you're doing that, they'll go, but that was a thing, and there's a thing, and there's a... No, back the fuck up. Let's start with the first thing you said, because that was your most important. That's your leading argument. Let's start there. We'll get with the rest of your bullshit in a minute. And deal with that 1 point. Stop diverting. Stick to the topic. Let me point out, because I think the reason you're full of shit on this is the reason you're full of shit on the rest of these things. I think you're habitually full of shit, and I think I can point it out in any one of these. I'm just picking the first one you threw out. Let's start there. I love the Tankies invited Phil Hittner to debate and ran away when he showed up. Yeah. That's how Newsom handled Hannity. That's exactly right. Trumper Congressman Lauren Boebert reveals that she's going broke, reported that she has less than $15,000 left in her bank account. Shares with her estranged husband, according to her new personal financial disclosure form, but it gets way worse for her. Government ethics watchdog just mints that they are alarmed by the fact that she failed to disclose any earnings from her memoir that she wrote and published this year. Okay, so that money isn't in her bank account yet, or is in some sort of mystery bank account, and that's the idea. So she's got to pretend to be broke because she's trying to hide the money she got from the memoir, or it just didn't fucking sell. Or if she discloses the copy she sold, people will realize that it was the Heritage Foundation or some group of like maggots that purchased it in bulk and handed it out for free, which is embarrassing in and of itself. So, and the other thing is she's going through a divorce. I wouldn't doubt that she's splitting stuff up. Divorces are fucking expensive. She can say like, divorces are expensive and we're dealing with this stuff and I don't barely got it. Good for you. Okay, fine. Didn't Boebert couldn't even grift properly? Well, that's the idea. The problem is that she thought this would be lucrative either on the side or post. Who's getting the kids? It's probably her. Although I don't know. Hopefully there's 50-50. As long as both of them are sane. That's the hard part. And Pac-Man, I don't think Lindell is interested in debate. After Pac-Man, I don't think Lindell is interested in debating. I don't think so either. I've asked him a bunch of times. I revisited that dozens of times. So anyways, let's go with one of my old friends. We'll finish out tonight, if I may, if we may, if we can, if we may, with my old friend Marianne Williamson. Now, for those of you that may or may not know, and if you ever used to go to Marianne Williamson's lectures back in the 90s, you probably recognize me better now than you would at other times. You probably recognize, like, because I had hair this long when I worked for her, when I was at those lectures all the time. that I spent a good deal of time. I went to all of her lectures for somewhere in the order of like 3 years straight. I went to London with her and Emma, her daughter. I was the house male in that regard. I did the technical support at her house. I ran the Ethernet cable from her Montecito guest house to where she wrote her books to the main house. Where in London, kind of all over. She rented a little like house there. This is pre she basically, yeah, it was like we were there for a month, so it was like this suburb area. But I would get up every morning and walk down and get bread from the market and bring back breakfast and all kinds of stuff. And it was a little bit of tension when I met a girl at a thing and she came back with me or whatever because she missed her train and she slept in the bed while I slept on the floor. I was a gentleman for the most part. She was Welsh, very lovely. But I didn't make a hard pass or anything like that. I was just like, you're safe, you're good. And then the funny thing is, when she went to catch her train in the morning, I was walking downstairs with her. I'm like, bye, see you later. And she was like, who's that girl? And I'm like, who cares? Anyways, true story. TMI? I don't think so. All right. Heating up. This is called Heating Up. Marianne Williamson spars with Hannity. Now, apparently, Hannity got a ratings bump from Marianne that people like when he shits on her. So he invited her back on, and she said yes, because she knows that any press is good press, and that the only press she's going to get is from Fox News, and that's that. So, yeah.
And Marianne Williamson joins us right now. How are you, Marianne?
I'm great. Thank you.
By the way, she is getting applause from his audience because they like that she shits on Democrats.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Are you worried at all that TikTok is a spy mechanism of the communist?
Oh, because he played clips of her on TikTok. That's what that was before the leader.
Communist Chinese, like so many have alleged?
Well, I think that the surveillance from any tech company is an issue, whether it's an American company or a Chinese company.
Oh, yeah. We have laws in this country, and the terms of service has to align with the laws in this country. The European Union has the same kind of deal. Theirs are even more stringent than ours. UK has laws. Canada has laws. They live by them. And you have to get permission now on a bunch of fronts to sell data, to get more data. You have to tell people specifically what kind of data you're going for. That's not at all what we're talking about when it comes to TikTok. It's always on. The mic is always on. Your camera is always on. TikTok is always recording or playing, and it's always tracking where you are, whether you tell it to or not. There's a big difference. But please go on.
Certainly an issue.
Certainly an issue, but only because Facebook, blah, blah, blah.
If you found out, or if the top security people in the country are telling you that, hey, you're using a platform that the communist Chinese spy on us, would you take it seriously?
Okay, first of all, he's not saying this to anybody else.
Well, I'll tell you something, Sean. The Chinese are spying on us in all kinds of ways.
Yes, I'm not worried about a balloon, but the fact that my mic on my phone could always be on and collecting my data all the time and collecting my driver's license and my credit card information and storing it on the cloud there, it matters. It does matter.
The truth of the matter is there are many, as in millions of young people.
If it's definitive.
I understand that, but this is where young people are getting their information, and I think that for us to deny that is kind of ridiculous.
Right, but that's, I mean, to carry that argument as far as possible, you go, well, the internet, Stormfront is a website on the internet, and the internet is where kids get all their information these days. So I'm going to post my ads on Stormfront. Why not?
I think that whatever regulations we have on TikTok, whatever the government decides to do, I'd like to see them be just as strong in regulating American companies as well.
It's the other way around. They're more stringent with those companies. TikTok had, and it's not about the laws and rules, it's how you obey the laws and rules. And they don't.
Wow.
So I'm looking at your numbers, and you know what? 10% is not too shabby. That's a very respectable number. Just like Robert F.
One clap.
Kennedy's number, I think, is at 21% is very respectable. I think it speaks to, combined, we're talking about 31% of Democrats don't want Joe Biden. That speaks volumes.
Yes, it's almost the exact same number that you had under Bernie and them. And look what happened. Relax.
So I started to do a little deeper dive into your positions. And for example, you seem to want to eliminate all domestic energy production, or a lot of it in America. And you said that no phrase has been used more manipulatively than national security. Well,
I mean, obviously by Trump.
You said our military madness has not made us more secure. It has made us less secure. And I'm asking you, to the extent that you see China, Russia, Iran as national security threats, and what would you have done if you were president and the Chinese spy balloon incident happened and the Russia taking down of our drone happened? What would you do in those two cases?
Well, I don't think that balloon should have gotten as far inland as it got.
What would you have done?
Let's be very clear here. Well, I think that should have probably been shot down over the water. I don't know why it was able to get as close as it got into
It was over Canadian territory after it was over the water. Like once it cleared that area, and they were aware of it, it was Canadian territory, and then in the United States, it came on over that way. So there, what do you mean? One of the lakes? Okay, what's in it? Is it a spy mechanism posing as a bomb, or a bomb posing as a spy mechanism? Does it have a bioweapon in it? Does it have COVID-23 in it? If it lands in fresh water, is it more of a threat or less of a threat than if it lands in salt water? Would you ask your military about that question, or the NHS or the CDC or the NIH?
U.S. territory.
But for the record, I agree with you. Once it was coming to Alaska airspace, I would have shot that sucker right out of.
Yeah, fuck the Alaskan people.
Yeah.
Fuck those polar bears.
Yeah. But let's be very clear.
What about Russia?
Where in the pristine Alaskan wilderness would you have shot it down?
What would you have done with the drone?
What would you have done with the people downriver from it when it turned out that it contained a bioweapon that would have dissolved in salt water, but survives in fresh water? What? You know what? Never mind. In retrospect, we know that wasn't it. So let's pretend like it never could have happened. It wasn't part of even the equation.
Are you talking about Syria? Where are you talking about the drone?
No, I'm talking about the Russians taking down one of our drones.
Oh, Russians taking down one of our drones. Where? Where are you mean one of our drones?
Over the Black Sea. Near Ukraine on the water. It's kind of a big deal. I don't know. What do I know? I'm not running for president.
What country are you talking about where they took down our drones?
It was a high-profile incident that a Russian fighter jet purposely hit and took down an American drone out of the sky, and Joe Biden did nothing. What would you have done?
It would depend on where the drone was.
It was in Alaska. It was over Alaska. We just thought, they shot it down and it fell all the way across the country. It was a balloon-shaped drone that was shot down by the. Fuck me.
We take down drones. They take down drones. This is not the big picture. The big picture is how.
The answer, by the way, is I believe that we should be more aware of the tactical limits of the Russians and their nervousness around this particular area. And I would have maybe had our drones steer clear of that area. And if there was a mismatch about that, where ours flew into their territory or their plane was out of there, I would have addressed it as such. Now, there's an argument back and forth, and because I'm not in those meetings, I can't tell you whether or not the reality is that our drone went too close or their fighter came too far. That would determine the conversation that was had and policy around that. But I, as president, would have, before that happened, made sure that our drones were giving a wide berth to that war zone so that they're not shooting down our tech and getting it. For that reason alone. that the altitude of our drones would either be way higher and they could still get the information they need, but they wouldn't be engaged in any kind of in the flight zone of the war itself, or we would have stayed wide of it if it needed to go and do something else. Again, this is without the briefings. This is my judgment ahead of time. See how easy those fucking answers are? Do you have any, like, you don't even have to Monday morning quarterback this shit. You can, another explanation, all right. This is to Marianne and anybody who's ever running. It isn't about the answer you want to give to the question. It's about what they're asking you. If they're asking you, whatever question, but it means, are you tough when you need to be? Then you can find a way, if you have the skills to be president, if you have the ability to be the president of the United States, or even a senator for that fucking matter, or a goddamn mayor, you should have the skill set and the vocabulary where you could describe a situation based on what your judgment would be around that subject without pretending you know details you don't, or in this particular case, showing your ignorance.
It matters where it was. When Russia is going to take out one of our drones in international airspace, that's where it was.
Well, you just said in international airspace.
Well, right.
I don't know the case
that
specifically enough to be able to comment.
I thought you knew
on
the story. Okay. So what would you do?
I didn't know the story. Well, I'd have to... the story of Russia's taking down a U.S. drone in international waters. I wouldn't.
Airspace.
What do you want me to do? Like commit war against Russia because they took down a U.S. drone? You have to be careful with military matters. You can't just go around like you're a cowboy all the time. So.
Yes, and that rule should apply. Maybe that's something you would bring up to the Russians who shot down your drone, which they flew close to. That's not the fucking point.
If Russia takes down a U.S. drone, listen, we're dealing plenty with Russia in very important ways right now. But I think what's happening, for instance, going on in Ukraine is...
We are? Like what? We're having to deal with them versus dealing with them. Good Lord.
Far more significant in terms of U.S. involvement with military matters in Russia than they're taking down one drone. I don't know any more about that
Do you believe the U.S. should have the meanest, toughest, best military with the greatest technology on the...
Listen to... Like, shut the fuck up, you harbor seal. No, I think it should be the second meanest, but I think it should be the toughest, but the third meanest. I don't think it should be mean at all. I want to rule by love. And if you don't believe me, that I want to rule using love, let me talk for a moment about how Joe Biden has dementia and is really a liar and a monster, and he's probably worse than Trump.
Face of the earth for the cause of defending freedom, because when you talk about the phrase,
see, this is what these segments are about, is that he wants to dunk on Marianne because he thinks she's basically the same as Biden as far as what she wants and materially what she would like to accomplish. And so by shitting on her, inartful description of these kind of things, she's standing as a surrogate for him calling out Biden for shit that Biden doesn't do, never promised, and is actually functionally capable of doing on his own, depending on the topic.
National security is used manipulatively. That sounds to me like you don't support national defense.
That's because you're stupid, Sean. I think that's the main reason why. That would be, by the way, that would be the first thing I'd say. That's because you're stupid, Sean. And I don't mean you're dumb. Ignorance would, I would never insult you by saying you're ignorant or dumb. You're being willfully stupid right here. You know better. That's not what that means at all. But I want to hear what she says.
To the extent we have it.
You're absolutely incorrect. Of course, the United States needs a strong military. The way I see military is like a surgeon. If you have to have surgery, the United States needs to have the best surgeon. But a reasonable person tries to avoid surgery if necessary. 60 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to treat military matters the first thing I will do to North Korea is send them some vitamin C and some echinacea and some golden seal and this propolis throat spray that I just think does wonders. And then I would appoint RFK, the head of the CDC, and we would solve most of our international conflicts with organic produce. And then if we had to, we'd get the tumor, caused by an overconsumption of phytotoxins removed surgically after the fact. But what was the question?
And it's recently did an expose about the profound price gouging of the defense contractors towards the U.S. military. One of the first things I would do as president is to audit the Pentagon. We know that we have a bloated military budget. We have an $858.
No, you don't. And again, I love you, CSL, and you're probably tired of hearing me say this. People don't actually think we spent $500 on a hammer or $1,000 on a toilet seat, do you? Most of these weapons are secret. Parts of all of them are secret. The reason they can't tell you what they've spent is because they're not supposed to. Stupid. Anybody's like, well, that's government inefficiency right there. Somebody said that in like 1992 and it fucking stuck. And then everybody else since then is like that's parroted that has not been anywhere near the actual discussions. Any senator or congressperson that's actually been through the appropriations process on the Defense Department, none of them come out going, fuck this. We got to put a stop to this $1,000 toilet seat thing. The fuck out of here. We're hiding where the money is going because we're building shit you use against people who are trying to kill you, stupid. You can argue that we're spending too much on it, but you can't argue that they won't even tell me where the money's going. Yeah, dumbass. Because there's someone else on the line.
$1 billion military budget. And you know what, Sean? I do not believe that the Iraq War made us more secure. I do not believe that staying at 20
Yeah, most people don't.
20 years longer than we needed to in Afghanistan made us more secure. We have to learn how to wait.
Trump would have kept us in forever, by the way. Keeping Bagram and keeping it as a base and staying there means U.S. personnel in Afghanistan unsafe and surrounded by ISIS-K for the foreseeable future. Decades and decades of death, period, end of story.
Peace. Donald Rumsfeld said
how
that.
would you wage
He said we need to learn.
I have a test. How would you wage peace and prevent the communist Chinese? They have stated their territorial ambition to take over Taiwan, our ally. How would you stage peace and prevent them from taking over an innocent sovereign nation?
One of the things that we need to do with China is to be careful with the languaging. We don't need to be in a Cold War with China. And the last thing we need.
Yeah, he's right. We already are. And secondly, they're not that careful with language, and we have been. We are being careful with the language. But being careful with the language isn't the same thing as telling them you can have Taiwan.
Is war with China.
But you didn't answer my question.
We need to step back.
But this is an important question.
I don't want to see
What would you
troops.
do if they followed through on their territorial ambition to take Taiwan, our ally? What would you do?
I think that we need to do everything possible to help make that not happen. We do not need...
All right. Everything possible to help make that not happen. Okay. That would include make that not happen. I guess destroying all of their Navy, since it will have to be a naval attack. We're going to have to cut off any fuel routes into the country. Certainly, we would have to encircle Taiwan with mines and, and police a shipping route in and out of the area. That would be everything necessary.
American troops in Taiwan.
We're not talking about American troops in Taiwan. We're talking about boats surrounding it, and we're talking about giving them arms and training them up. We have Marines on the beach there now. It's one of the reasons why the Chinese aren't attacking.
We do not need to be in a...
There is no situation, by the way, for the record, there is no situation where the Chinese do a surprise attack on Taiwan any day now for the foreseeable future, for the next 25 years. Anytime in that period where they don't end up killing a U.S. service person. Because our troops are there as trainers and observers, and they're an allied country, so they're there all the time. And if the Chinese try to bomb the fucking beach and then storm the place, they're going to kill a U.S. Marine in the process. Our soldiers, in many ways, are the shield right now. The fear of doing that is one of the things that keeps China at bay. Troops in Taiwan is one of the reasons why they're not going to attack. Now, do we need an army base there? No. The trainers are enough. That's enough of a deterrent. But the other thing we're doing is giving Australia silent subs. Nuclear-powered, but not armed, nuclear-powered subs that run quiet. All the Chinese subs are diesel. You can hear them 100 miles away. The nuclear subs are silent. And they can patrol the Taiwan Strait. They can encircle it, and Japan's become our ally about this too. The Quad and Japan and the AUKUS agreement, that is what we are doing to keep this from happening.
The war with China.
I would agree with that. Now, last question. You want to replace fossil fuels. What would you replace it with today?
There is tremendous green energy possibilities, wind, solar. There are so many ways that we can compensate.
You think we can, how long would it take to make the transition?
Quickly, if we invest adequately. You know, you said a few minutes ago that I wanted to get rid of American energy production. No, I don't. I want to ramp down fossil fuel.
Well, that's what Biden is doing. That's what the transition of natural gas is doing, which is fine. And that's what you should want, because that's what's sensible. That's realistic. That's what makes it possible. But you don't get to say that now when you've been shitting on the Biden administration, specifically making them more of an enemy than the Trump administration because they're not moving fast enough for you, while coming on Hannity and saying you basically would take the same approach.
Energy production. I want to ramp up green energy production. We need to make a...
The Inflation Reduction Act was the largest investment in green energy, in renewable energy production in the United States in its history. One gigawatt more, I'm being facetious, 1.21 gigawatts more would have ultimately, they would have cadavered the bill. It wouldn't have happened, wouldn't have passed. Because we live in a democracy.
A just transition from a dirty energy to a clean energy grid.
Look, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. If your energy is a little bit dirty, that's fine. It's up to you. Just saying. Clean it up, but just wash.
How long would that, how long in your...
Yes, CSL, see at the clock tower. Save the clock tower.
View would that take?
Well, if you look at the money we spend subsidizing the oil companies, we could take that same money and subsidize the production of green energy. We are Americans. We can do whatever we want. And if we decide that we are going to make a massive transition, a just transition to a clean energy grid, you absolutely can believe.
Yep. Now, right at the tail end with the Oscar playoff music, she said the point that both Hannity and she were kind of getting at but missing the whole time, which is the grid. Until you upgrade the transmission lines of power across the country, making solar power from the Southwest available in the Northeast through a smart grid and the transmission lines that are necessary in there, and then nuclear along the way for places where there is not enough of either. But until you uniform the grid, and it's a smart grid and it's resilient, all the places where there's plenty of renewable, the winds around Indiana and Chicago and like the central Illinois and that kind of stuff, and the sun in the south and the southwest, that's fine. And the geothermal, I would say, in North Dakota and places like that, maybe out in Yellowstone, those areas where there's a lot of overlap. And the green areas where people are talking about green energy a lot are areas where you have multiple sources at once. The places that they're the most worried about are where there are fucking none. Where part of the year, it's covered in snow, it's not windy at all, and it just fucking sits there. The grid is the key. And until you upgrade the grid and make it a smart grid where the transition lines and the sending of energy across the balancing of it across the entire country works, which is a federal program. That is something that the Biden administration is working on. That's part of the infrastructure bill. It was part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Both of those things. That's where that's going. Neither of these assholes, with all due respect, is talking about the fact that the Biden administration started that ball rolling. I would argue the Obama administration did, but they picked up the ball and ran with it much further down the field than anybody else has. And until that project is complete, it doesn't matter how much fucking solar energy you can pull from Nevada and Arizona and Southern California or Western California or Eastern California. It doesn't fucking matter because you're not going to be able to get it to the Northeast. And the wind, the intermittent wind of the Northeast is not going to be enough to power all those areas. You have to have a smart grid. You have to rebuild the infrastructure first. That's why it's crucial. And pretending that it's not being done by the Biden administration, directly championing it, is a way of lying. It's lying. It just, that part drives me fucking crazy, except for Texas that doesn't participate. Well, they're going to be buying energy from Mexico anyways. That's another conversation for another time. But that's the point. She said, notice how she said grid right then, right?
Massive transition, a just transition to a clean energy grid.
Clean energy grid. I gotta say, you gotta think this shit through. If you have a grid, but the sources themselves aren't built, or you have the sources themselves, but the grid isn't there, who starves first in the name of green energy? Who gets cut off first? That's the question that they're going to bring up. And we right now, we're not subsidizing the oil and gas industry the way we used to. We did that. We're all in on that from like 1952 till about 1997. Yeah, that was, expanding, initially expanding the amount of gas stations and transit lines and pipelines and trucking and all that kind of shit throughout the country, and a standard for all that. That was all picked up by the government and the taxpayer because it helped us all elevate into a first world country faster than any other country in the world and stay there and stay on top of the heap and all that kind of stuff. It's very valuable. That's not anybody who shits on it, again, are there because of it. It's like spitting in the face of Ignaz Semmelweis. If it wasn't for that man, we'd all be dead right now. That said, we definitely did that. And then when Jimmy Carter came in and said, fuck lead gasoline, and they started removing that, that was another thing where the government said, we'll help you pick up the tab for getting the lead out, even though it's in your best interest to get it out because it's going to kill the citizenry. And unlike companies, we can't fire the poor. We can't fire our citizens. If they get sick, we can't just say, well, you can't work the line anymore. Get the fuck out of here. They're human beings, and a government's responsible for them in a way that a corporation is not. And so the government has to pick up that slack. Now, ultimately, around 97, like I said, 98, that kind of phased out. And it's about that time that the idea of electric cars actually became a valid possible, future for vehicles, commuter vehicles in particular. And that would be the fastest transition. If we could get the fastest way we could get to a sustainable, carbon negative future is to focus on commuter vehicles, short ride, mid-range, 340 to 400 mile radius max, but most people use their cars same 9 miles back and forth all the time. Getting those cars, focusing on those vehicles and saying, look, if you got a car, you got 2 cars, you got a truck, and you got a car in the family, get an electric car. You don't have to go as far, and get a plug-in hybrid. Start there. It's greener than the alternative, and it moves you in the right direction. And that wasn't a hard sell. More people bought hybrids for a very long time than they were ready to go into full electric before the range got big enough. That's how the transition is going to happen. And it's not going to happen any fucking faster, no matter how much people yell. I don't care how much people throw fucking paint on things. It's not, because it's an innovation-based change. We are, as human beings, we discovered fire and then we learned to contain it. That's the big deal. Again, the invention of the wheel is not the big deal. It's the axle that was important. Nobody needs to reinvent the wheel, but you can always improve on the axle. That's the point. So, the idea that you're going to somehow, we can do this tomorrow, we can do it quickly if we just know. That means you have no idea how the transmission lines, state to state, county to county, power station to local populace work at all in this fucking country, and what a ginormous undertaking it is to create, to bridge the grid where it has gaps especially in large, swaths of this country where there are no fucking people in it, in the Midwest and in the North, especially in the northern center Midwest of the United States, south of Canada, has a lot of land and very few fucking people. And you've got to get that smart grid has to connect across that. And it's got to have junctions that boost the signal, that keep the energy flowing no matter what. And that's where the natural gas is. So getting those folks to convert to something else and saying it's going to be economic when all that shit is right there is going to be very difficult. So don't pretend, and just get at it. We're going to innovate our way out of this, just like every human, society has that has survived ever. Oi.
You absolutely can believe it. We have the money, we have the know-how, we have the ingenuity, and we have the spirit. What we need is for Americans to be mobilized, and that is what I would do.
Again, all right. Love the sound of that. Americans need to be mobilized. To do what? Vote for people who will use their tax dollars to green the economy and green the energy grid? We're already doing that. We were mobilized. We voted for Biden, and what he passed with the Inflation Reduction Act was the biggest green energy push this country has ever seen. The infrastructure bill has a continuation of that. The rescue package had more stuff in it for green energy than almost anything that had been passed heretofore. Biden has passed 3 of the biggest green energy fucking bills in history in 2 fucking years. Mobilized to do fucking what? Walk? Bicycle to work until we can get rid of petroleum? Is that the idea? Sorry, it's on us. But and by the way, if you can say that, that means you are not a woman who cleans houses for a living, or cleans apartments, or works as a janitor someplace, or as a waitress, or something like that, who has to ride a fucking bike back and forth. She's got to take the bus just so she's not fucking. She's exhausted so much by the end of her day that she walking up the last 3 steps into her fucking stoop house is too much. But she just, she's one day a week. She just needs to ride a fucking bike. We need to motivate them, and they need to mobilize. They are being mobilized. Now, the only other way you can mobilize in a way that we haven't done is a government-pushed, university-based tech push that is taxpayer and grant-based, grants and loans guaranteed by the U.S. government at every green industrial lab in every proper university in the fucking country. Grant programs, contests, anybody who can come up with a fucking engine that runs on water gets an automatic $5 billion. That kind of shit. That's the mobilization. But it's not to harangue the American people to stop driving a car when that's the way they got to get to work. And already the car that they're driving is more efficient than 80% of the fucking cars on the goddamn planet. It's just this fucking finger wagging that it drives me crazy. Because it's the same shit we saw from Tucker and Jimmy. These fucking poor motherfuckers. All you assholes riding on real roads and going to real places and trying to go to eat at restaurants where people work and going to shows and fucking sporting events like you've been doing since the 70s, even though there's more of you now, but not by a lot. You guys know better. You need to be mobilized to buy a car you can't afford that may be a dead-end technology in 10 years, that may be more polluting in terms of lithium-ion batteries than if you'd bought a plug-in hybrid. Just the fucking... all this talk about fucking elites and then that's all they fucking ask. That's all they act like. Like, this is the most elitist, raised pinky horseshit. Judge sets trial for E. Jean Carroll date. Sweet. Defamation case against Trump. Oh, they're going for another one? Oh, it's so good. January 15th, 2024. He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose another 10 billion. I'm freezing up. Did I lose some? See, I dropped from. No, I don't have any drop frames. It's something else. Anyways, I like this kind of elitist horseshit. Just drives me crazy, especially the people who decry elites and then go, "Us, it's all these. We need to mobilize the American people. The American people need to get off their asses. Quite frankly, they just don't want to change. They don't. Why don't these people realize that they're the problem ultimately?" Hybrid is a better choice. It is. I agree. YouTube's good. Still, I'm fine. Excellent. Thanks, guys, for letting me know. It always makes me sweat a little bit. But luckily, I'm wearing a tank top today, so... It's hot in here. Anyways, blame us for your fecklessness. He dissed her at the CNN town hall. Same old bullshit. Oh, yeah, the E. Jean Carroll. Yeah, that's why he's going back to court. He said the same shit he said, and then he got busted again, because... Fuck you. So, let's see. Or 5 political parties to vote for it? Right. Yeah, because all those countries that have coalition governments that we hear about all the time are kicking our ass everywhere, aren't they? It's like, you do realize we rescue all of those countries. Like we so many times, and I was guilty of it myself back in the day. So, like, look at the coalition governments formed in England and in Israel. Remember, they would always talk about that. Like, they had to fight. Somebody gets elected, and then they mix the one, and they have to, they have to work together to form a coalition government, and then coalition government. And then they go, no, they don't. We end up bailing them out every fucking time with our stupid 2-tiered justice system and our bullshit military-industrial complex and our 2-party uniparty and the deep state establishment, and yet here we come on a fucking white horse every goddamn time. Yeah, Canada right now, having a rough time of it. Right. Don't get mad. I just think it's funny. Look, cheer the fuck up, and let's be realistic about stuff, and everybody try to make some progress, okay? We can agree on that. We want actually, man, we want these things, but we want them actually. We don't want to bitch about them in 10 more years. And I like the people. I love Barack Obama for getting the ACA on the books and helping us move closer to an idea that people don't have to, like, people in middle America, as much as this bullshit about, oh, Obamacare, I don't like that Obamacare, moved way closer to going, you know what? Make sure it's managed and limited in how much they can drop me and all that kind of stuff. Those kind of regulations are good, and I think a public option might work, blah, blah, blah. You move that down the field instead of trying to, like, shove in a system that half the country's going to reject, and if they get mad about it before it even takes off, they're going to elect somebody that will kill it in the crib. So if you have to change a lot of minds, it takes changing a lot of hearts at the same time. And the faster you do it, the more the chance of a backlash. And the same thing's true of energy. And part of it's how we talk about it. Part of it's the fact that we are always like, everything's a fucking panic. It's not. An emergency has to be handled immediately. A crisis has to be handled immediately. An enormous challenge, an existential challenge, has a target date. And you can talk about it logically. But if you start screaming emergency all the time, people stop listening. And then every day that passes where the emergency is, they don't see it in some form or another. And this is what's happening with Trump and his economic message, because it's not landing with these motherfuckers anywhere. People start going, maybe the emergency is you. And if you're dealing with a real problem, like climate change, you have to address it understanding that not everybody else is on board. You got to use language they understand, and you have to address their concerns in the process. And in doing that, you're not going to get everything you want right away. And if you try, they're going to think there's something else that you're trying to get over them. That's why they think it's a giant fucking conspiracy. And meanwhile, fucking stack of millionaires tonight. Yeah, everybody we covered tonight is a multi-millionaire. Russell, Sean, Tucker, Hannity, Marianne, all of them. Multi-millionaires telling you that you beware the elites. Maybe Maybe they're warning you, right? Warning you about the elites telling you what to do or wanting to control things, or rich and the 1%, and all of them in the top 5% for fucking sure. And I just find it stunning that they do they not have that moment? Ugh, it's weird. It's just weird. Fucking, are you, yeah. Please respond to 5 eggs. What happened to 5 eggs? We all know what. We all know what, what is 5 eggs? Oh, I see. Beg your pardon. That's an important thing. I get where you're coming from on that. Whoops, where's this guy? Oh, there it is. Because all the while, you've got people who are, hang on there a goddamn second, lady. If I may, a point of order, Mr. Chairman, over here, listen up. Okay, let me start out by saying she's a lovely lady. She seems nice. I think she means well. But then, so did my cousin Sheila. She meant well, But did that stop her husband from ending up with a scattergun stuck in his rectum? I mean, look. We all here to party, don't get me wrong, or whatever. And he was very lucky it was full of rock salt and chicken feed, because it just tickled a little bit. He was a tough hombre, as they used to say, and stuff. But you got to be careful, okay? You got to be careful. Most of us out here, we can't afford that shit. We live down here fucking working all the goddamn time. Look here. You want to talk to me about green energy, motherfucker? When's the last time you took a walk in the country? Tell you some green energy I had. Tell you right now. I was walking through the woods one night, and I had a bowl of chili that was working its way through me like that. Remember that feller that took that truck and then covered it in metal plating and drove it through town like a tank? Remember that feller? It was moving through my colon just like that, man. It was just hum, 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 hum. And it saw the exit, man, and the light at the end of that tunnel was a horrible endeavor. Let me be completely honest. Anyways, I'm going to tell you about this. So I'm out there in the woods, and I'm like, I can take care of this like God intended. I just got to find me some leaves that aren't poison oak. So I drop trowel and start taking care of business. And, unfortunately, the sound that came out of me due to the contents of my belly and my gut at that particular time sounded a lot like the mating call of a Louisiana brown bear. And I happen to be in the outer areas of Alabama, and I know what you're saying. All the areas of Alabama are the outer area. Touche, but that's not the point. Anyway, so I'm dropping this, and I hear and I'm like, is that me? And it wasn't. Anyways, I was barely done when that sucker was just about on me, and I'm telling you, it looked romantically engaged. So I chucked up my drawers, threw a couple of, well, obviously before, like a gentleman, using a couple of stray oak leaves that were, fresh, let's just say. You never use a crumbly old, never, it's a long story. Anyways, I yank up my trousers, doing my belt as I run, chucking on down there, and I was running barefoot through them woods up a tree, fast as you could see it, going limb to limb, and that's what I call green energy. So, let me tell you what, and I got that kind of an engine needs refueling. So I went straight back to the Piggly Wiggly and bought myself another can of that chili, man. And I got to tell you that there are elements that I was concerned, because I had noticed on the first can that there were a couple of puncture marks, which is, in a canned good, not a. I suppose in Armageddon you wouldn't mind, but in modern society, we civilized. So I would have, preferred it to be otherwise. But I got to tell you, the second ride was as good as the first. Tried to do that. Anyways, that's my I believe in green energy, man. If I could run my truck on leaves, I'd fucking do it in a heartbeat. I don't need to give them Saudis nothing. So have at it. Go out and tell you what, if you ever need some wind energy, just come by my house when I'm having chili. Right now, I'll spin you a turbine. Ooh, I think I made a coal shoot. I gotta go. That's not, if y'all don't mind, that's wrong.